iOS 14 could well be the biggest update to iPhone since iOS 7, and despite it catching up to Android in many ways, there's lots of brand new features here which are unique to iPhone, which I really think are worth taking note of. In this video, I'm going to break down my top 5 features that I'm excited for, and they're also the ones which I think you're going to love. So let's dive into it. Let's start with the headline feature as such, which is of course widgets. Something Android has had for literally years, but is finally making its debut appearance on an iOS device. And actually, I never thought Apple would introduce this sort of thing because the iPhone's home screen is so iconic with these rows of icons. I just didn't think they would do it, but here we are, and I must admit, I'm quite excited for them. Smart Stack is the standout widget, which is the one I have on the top here, which intelligently rotates other widgets to present you with the most useful information at that time. I really like the idea of this. It's very Apple, and I think most people will end up using just this one, if any. But you can of course make your own, and they come in different sizes too. One of the things I really like is you can stack a widget on top of another widget to make your own sort of smart stack. So let me give you an example. If I click in here, press the plus button, I can actually drag news on top of there and add it to a stack already, which is cool. So this one I actually had set up for music, so that's for podcasts, and that takes you to Apple Music if you've got something playing there. But that's really cool. And I've got this larger one down here, which is for news. I actually really like this setup, and I like the idea of having a screen off to the right, which just gives me widgets and some other features as well. So that's widgets. I'm really excited to see what comes here. I can imagine ones for like Spotify and Twitter and Facebook and things like that. I think widgets are going to be really cool, and that is the top new feature. Number 2 is something that I don't think I'll personally get a lot of use from, but I think it will help a lot of people out, and it is the app library. Again, this is something that Android's kind of had for a really long time, but it's great to see here nonetheless. If you're the sort of person that has pages and pages of apps, then this update is for you. The app library is basically an easily digestible list of every app on your iPhone that sits off to the right. And if you touch in here, you actually get a big long list of all your apps too. But its killer feature of such is being able to collapse pages that you don't use into the app library. So say if you've got one page like this and you don't want it anymore, if you enter jiggle mode, as they call it, and press these dots down here, you can actually deselect the page, and that will throw all of those apps into the app library. So that page is gone and they're all in the app library, which is great. Personally, I think it's cool, but I've always kept my iPhone apps pretty in order and all that sort of thing. So I feel like I won't really need it because I keep all my apps in folders quite well and nicely, but it's there for people that need it, and I think it's really cool. Moving on to number 3, and sadly it's not something I can show you yet as the setting isn't there, but in iOS 14 you'll finally be able to set default apps. It's only for the mail and browser for now, but it seems like Apple might be opening that up later to more. This is a big step for Apple because historically they've only ever let you use Safari and their built-in mail apps, but you can now switch to Chrome or Firefox and Outlook or Gmail or something like that for email, and it's really cool that they're actually allowing it to happen. I imagine most people probably won't even bother to change it, but for us people out there that really care, this is a great feature to have. Moving on to number 4, which is another feature which is difficult to show you, especially on this iPhone 6s, is an accessibility feature called BackTap. BackTap effectively allows you to literally tap on the back of a device 2 or 3 times to launch a specific function. At the moment it's limited to a few things like opening Siri or taking a screenshot. However, it does work with shortcuts too, so you can pretty much route this to any task you want it to, which I think can be really awesome. I really like the idea of tapping to turn the torch on or to bring up or down the control center, and for things like play and pause on music. So I really hope Apple continues to expand on this for the future, and I do believe it's only available on phones with a notch and upwards, so keep that in mind. The 5th and final update, which I think you're going to love, and it's something that's felt long overdue again on the iPhone, is a less intrusive ringer. It might not sound huge, but when you get a call on an iPhone, it pretty much interrupts whatever you're doing whenever you're doing it. But in iOS 14, it's been slimmed down to just a really small notification at the top here. And you can either accept it from there, decline it from there, or just swipe it away. It will carry on ringing and you can get back to what you were doing. And I think that's going to be incredibly useful, and one of those features that's finally here and we're all happy to see it. So those are the top 5 things that I'm most excited for with iOS 14. Of course, there's a huge amount of other things that it can do, but those are the ones that really stood out to me. I also wanted to mention as well, I've been testing iOS 14 out on an iPhone 6s and an iPhone SE, and it seems to run on there absolutely no problem at all. Despite these phones only having 2GB of RAM, it seems to run everything absolutely fine, and I haven't noticed any glitching or slow up. It's actually surprisingly stable for a beta release. However, what I will say is I've been testing this out on the 16GB models of these two phones, and the iOS 14 beta takes up over 15GB of storage space. That might change, I'm not sure, but it really does leave a really limited amount of space on those phones. So that's worth keeping in mind. I don't think it's really designed for 16GB variants anymore. So that rounds this video up. As ever, I would like to hear from you guys, so please let me know which update feature you're looking forward to, or if you've used Android for ages, feel free to drop some hate in the comments below. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, pop a like. If you loved it, subscribe on the way out. That helps me out, and I will see you all in the next one.